bragging about Charlie's death. Now they're losing their jobs left and right. And good, because if your idea of education is teaching kids that murder is funny when it happens to the wrong side, you shouldn't be within a mile, 20 miles of a classroom if I ever find out any of my children's teachers do anything like that. Accountability for this isn't censorship, it's consequences. And of course, the social media mob. Threads and posts saying, oops, Charlie loved the Second Amendment, look what happened. Are you fucking stupid? All right. Hey everyone, hope you're all well. I have to talk about Charlie again. Now, it's reaction time. Charlie Kirk is dead, assassinated, and the reactions from his opposition side include celebration from teachers, influencers, YouTubers, mocking his widow, posting memes, cheering like their team just won the Super Bowl. One of them is called Destiny, and I admit I haven't heard of this asshole. And apparently he's some big bro online. And he mocked Charlie's wife for grieving. That is the level of moral rot that we've reached. This is not about politics right now. It's about humanity. Here's the kicker. They defend it all under this faux banner of free speech, as if dancing on a man's grave is the entire point of the First Amendment. Meanwhile, these are the same people who are now crying about being silenced when their own words get them fired, and when their reputations go up in flames, and when they finally taste consequences of the garbage that they spew. Yes, I'm angry. I'm saddened. I'm confused by what humanity has become in moments like these. Here's the truth. Sometimes tragedy is the very thing that forces us to be better. It's a horrid truth, but it's how we heal. It's how we grow, alone and together. And that's where my frustration, it takes me. Not to incite. I'm not trying to get back at people. And it's not to tear down. It's demand something better. I've already edited a lot of name calling out of this episode in my script for this episode. I want to be better than that. And if Charlie's death doesn't drive that home, then I don't know what will. This is Stay in the Fray podcast. It is September 17th, 2025. And let's roll. I want to get something straight. Free speech means you can speak your mind without the government locking you up for it. It doesn't mean you get to celebrate assassination and then keep your job at the local grocery shop. This is where our youth are getting this. The First Amendment protects peaceful opinions and debate. It does not protect threats, incitement, or dangerous rhetoric that leads to violence. And that's where this little gotcha moment that the people laughing are trying to do, this is where it falls apart. Their whole line now is, well, Charlie wanted free speech, so we're doing just what he said. No, that's not free speech. That's moral cowardice hiding behind the First Amendment. The truth, free speech is not void of consequence. You post a TikTok celebrating a man being murdered, and your employer has every right to fire your ass. You're a teacher telling kids that violence against political opponents is justified? You shouldn't be in a classroom, period. But the hypocrisy is blinding. During cancel culture, thank God it's going, the woke left was fine with people losing jobs over the smallest fabricated offenses. Someone tweets an off-color joke from 10 years ago, and suddenly they're canceled. But when it's celebrating an assassination, suddenly they're all defenders of free expression. Give me a fucking break. This is not okay. Free speech is supposed to be about discussion, debate, exchanging ideas. That's what Charlie stood for. Dangerous rhetoric is the opposite. It dehumanizes, it justifies violence, and it creates the culture where a man loses his life because of his beliefs. If you can't tell the difference between those two, you're either dishonest or you're that far gone. Let's talk about what happened, which has sparked this episode. What's happened after Charlie's death? Because the reactions tell you everything we need to know about the problems in this country and the world. First off, you have this Destiny douchebag. All right, that was the last name call, I swear. He's a smug YouTuber who thinks debating college freshmen on Discord makes him Socrates. And he's mocking Charlie's wife on Piers Morgan's show. Take a look.
Why did you mock his widow?
Why did you mock his widow? Because she's being used as a political weapon right now for conservatives to continue their fight. What do you mean, wow? She's literally doing
her husband just got murdered
on email. Yeah, she's using it to drive up recruitment for
and you can't even condemn the murder. You won't condemn it.
Can't even tell his side.
You're
to
so
turn the
deranged about Trump that you cannot condemn the murder because you're waiting for Donald Trump to say something.
Off of it.
All right, let me bring it.
This guy, I've never seen anything like this. I'm happy I haven't heard of him until now, and I'm sorry that I have. Charlie's wife is grieving her murdered husband, and his trash take is that she's weaponizing that grief. No, she's not. She's mourning by sharing Charlie's words with the millions who loved him. Her 17-minute speech was not exploitation. It was a widow honoring her husband's mission. And if you see that as a threat, that says more about you than it does about her. The fact that a grown man with a platform thinks that the right move is to laugh at a widow, that's not edgy free speech, dude. That's being a piece of shit. Anything for clicks, I suppose. Here's the bigger issue. This kind of stuff, this stuff from this guy, people like this. This is what some people are listening to. This is who some are taking seriously. He sits up there all fired up with Piers Morgan saying that his opposition of the right needs to turn down the heat. Really? Tell me what the right has done in actual political violence compared to the left. Riots from the left, arson, Antifa, assaults on conservatives wearing a hat, churches vandalized, pro-life centers firebombed. The record speaks for itself. I can't believe I have to continue to bring receipts here. Meanwhile, he refuses to condemn a man's assassination. He dodges, he deflects, and he points fingers at the very people who aren't the ones out committing violence. That's not just misinformation. That's false blame. That's protecting your team at all costs, even when it means excusing murder. And if that's your moral compass, how the hell anyone aligns with you, I have no idea. It didn't stop there. I was just giving him as an example. Teachers, the people we trust to shape our kids, were posting celebration clips bragging about Charlie's death. Now they're losing their jobs left and right. Good. Because if your idea of education is teaching kids that murder is funny when it happens to the wrong side, you shouldn't be within a mile, 20 miles of a classroom. If I ever find out any of my children's teachers do anything like that, accountability for this isn't censorship. It's consequences. And of course, the social media mob. Threads and posts saying, oops, Charlie loved the Second Amendment. Look what happened. Are you fucking stupid? The Second Amendment exists so people can protect themselves. What happened to Charlie was the exact opposite. A man who preached self-defense, family, faith, mental health, responsibility, was gunned down by someone radicalized by lies. And instead of condemning it, the mob mocks it. It's not a win. It's cowardice. Let's deal with the labels. I'm going to give you some more receipts. A lot of people cheering this on haven't even heard Charlie Kirk speak. They just go with it. So check this out. The shooter and the idiots on social media call Charlie a fascist, racist, sexist, trans, all the words. The receipts say otherwise. Roll the tape.
If they are supporting open homosexuality.
So I'm going to ask a very respectful question, as respectfully as I can. What does what they do in their private life concern you so much that you have to go up in front of a crowd? And
it is against God. That is
so. Let me ask you a question.
Are you a Christian or not?
Do we live in a theocracy? Yes or no? No. Do we live in a theocracy?
You said you're a Christian. I
am a Christian. And do you know what? And guess what? I will say this. Part of being a Christian is appropriately interpreting what the theological says for the individual, but also means to be long-suffering and patient and loving and kind. Jesus Christ talked to all people. Jesus Christ went and did his ministry through Judea and Samaria, and he had dinner with tax collectors, and he had dinner with prostitutes, and he did his ministry in every part of the Mediterranean. What it means to be a Christian, my friend, is to be open-minded but firm in your beliefs, so you can have that belief. But if you say there's something inherently wrong with communicating or associating just because they make different personal decisions than you, sir, are not a conservative. Thanks for being here tonight.
There it is. Charlie's defending gay people, amongst others, to a right-winger who said that Charlie wasn't Christian enough. Yeah, that sounds like Charlie totally hates gay people. Here's another one. How about this? Let's roll some more.
You will never be the best version of yourself if you allow other people to convince you that you can't be better because of your skin color, because of your sexual identity, because of the community you came from. You must resist those narratives at all costs if you truly want to be successful in America.
Did you hear all that? You misinformed lunatics in the back? Charlie's saying every person is made in the image of God. He's always said that, and should value themselves regardless of anything. Those are words of a unifier, not a bigot. Have you taken the time to listen? So I'll ask you this. If the man is on record saying these things, where do these labels come from? Well, they come from the media. They come from politicians, from influencers like Destiny, who spent years painting him as a monster. And when you dehumanize someone long enough, you make it easier for a weak mind to do what happened here to Charlie. Show me where Charlie was any of these horrible things that you call him. You can't do it. It doesn't exist. If he disagreed with you on trans life or some mental illness, that's his opinion. It doesn't mean he doesn't care about the trans community. He just disagrees. Sports and all of those things. There's a difference. Let's talk about the cesspool where all this garbage festers, social media. And it's not the platforms themselves. It's the people on them. You know the type. Behind some anime avatar or profile picture of a fucking dog. No name, no face. Just all day long spewing hate, trolling, cheering on death like it's a sport. These people are weak. They're indoctrinated. They're the ones who think actual violence is acceptable because they've been conditioned to believe that debate is pointless. Instead of making an argument, they vomit the most vile things they can think of, and they hit post. And I'll be honest with you, I've talked about it briefly. I've fallen into it myself. I've taken the bait before, rage typing back and forth with nobodies we give the time of day with in real life. And I didn't like who I became. That's what this environment does. It drags you down. It makes you someone you don't even recognize. And I still have to work hard not to fall into that trap. And I have to be on social media to do this. Meanwhile, those same people toss around words they don't understand. Fascism, racism even, Nazis. They use them for everything. I already debunked the racist claim earlier in one of the video clips. I debunked the notion that Charlie doesn't like gay people. I've got the receipts. Charlie defended gay people against far-right critics. He defended them from his own. He said every person of every skin color is made in God's image. That's not hate, that's unity. Here's the irony no one on the left wants to admit. Charlie Kirk never once called for violence. Ever. I've got the clips. Go look for yourself. You won't find it. Meanwhile, the rhetoric aimed at him, it was dehumanizing. And the rhetoric ended with him losing his life. That is the true meaning of fascism, by the way. For all of you who love to spew words you don't even know what the meaning of. Silencing someone with violence because you don't like what they believe, that is fascism. And now, social media allows people to celebrate it. Tell me how this isn't going to breed more of the same. This episode initially wasn't going to be mostly about Charlie Kirk. I already did an episode. Go back and check it out. But everything that needs to be said about free speech applied to this tragedy. So it's not just about Charlie. It's about what happens when a country pretends that political violence only counts when it fits the narrative. Here's something to think about. I watched politicians kneel at George Floyd's funeral, crying. This was a career criminal. He died resisting arrest, fatal amounts of drugs in his system. And whether or not you agree or disagree with methodology of police force, which is something to talk about, they still did this. They mourned a criminal. They wore kente cloths. They bowed their heads, turned it into a national moment. They're all over the end zones in the NFL, all over the basketball courts, everywhere. And when Charlie Kirk is assassinated, a man who never hurt a fly, who preached faith and family and unity, silence. Where's AOC? Where's Pelosi? Where's Tim Walz? I haven't heard anything from any of these people. I'll tell you where they are. They're fucking hiding. Because condemning Charlie's death would mean admitting the rhetoric on their side lit the fuse. And let's talk about the polarization here. Every time violence is excused, the divide grows wider. Every time they mock a grieving widow, people harden. They get angrier, less willing to talk, less willing to care, more willing to walk away from institutions altogether. That isn't healing this country. That's collapse. Look at the pattern again. Antifa riots, looting, churches vandalized, pro-life centers firebombed, property defaced, all the Teslas that were being keyed. That's a track record. Tell me what the other side is doing on that same scale. Seriously, tell me. Give me an example where this is a bipartisan concern. The right has flaws. Look, nobody's pretending it doesn't. I'm not a far-right apologist. But political violence like this, it's not coming from conservatives. That's undeniable. People are fleeing the left. Aligning with the modern liberalism and the woke is, they see it. But there are still far too many who are okay with political violence in 2025. The ones who claim to be fighting for freedom and against fascism while acting like fascists themselves. They need to look in the mirror. You don't have to like what someone says, but why can't we just agree on basic humanity, civility? So how do we fix this? Because you can't just shrug and say, politics. No, a man was assassinated. And the reactions exposed a concerning truth. There's no middle ground. First, the leaders need to call it what it is: political violence, not an unfortunate rhetoric or heightened tensions. Violence. Condemn it, period. And not just when it's convenient for your party. If you can condemn January the 6th, which is the only example of the right acting out, and even that, we won't get into that, you better damn well condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk. Otherwise, you're a hypocrite. Second, accountability. Teachers posting celebration clips. Gone. You're out. Influencers glorifying assassination. If they're big enough to have any sponsors, they should drop them. Horrible celebrities. And then you got the media circus. Let's start with ABC's Matt Gutman. Roll this.
An alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate who was transitioning calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner. So a very interesting and, as Pierre said, riveting press.
Oh, hold on. I need another sip of scotch. Touching? Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Two people talking about an assassination, texting about how it went down. And ABC and this guy spins it like it's some Nicholas Sparks movie. I don't care if those messages read like the most heartwarming rom-com script in history. The main character murdered a man in cold blood. There's nothing touching about it. It's disgusting. And this is exactly the problem. The media sanitizes the evil when it fits a narrative. Sticking with ABC, here's our friend Jimmy Kimmel, who, by the way, I won't get into it now, but I just found out before this recording that he has been canceled and silenced. ABC and Disney have removed him from the air indefinitely. Stay tuned for that. This is what happened. Literal lies. Literal misinformation. Go ahead, guys.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Here we go. There's a problem. Kimmel, late night clown who hasn't been funny since The Man Show, which is the only reason he's famous. He gets on TV and lies through his teeth. He says the shooter was MAGA. No evidence, no receipts. He just tossed it out there because it feeds the narrative that his audience wants to hear, 100 of them. And people believe it. Here is the truth. The shooter was anti-MAGA. He was in a relationship with a trans man. He had radical college ties. He was literally writing garbage on bullet casings. And now, still, if you pay attention to what he's saying during interrogation, he's not screaming, "Make America Great Again." He's parroting the exact same far-left talking points we see plastered all over social media and from people like Jimmy Kimmel. The dehumanizing garbage that turns disagreement into justification for violence. That is the danger. People like Kimmel spin the lies. They don't just get it wrong. They don't just come back and apologize. They give cover to the violence. They create false hate. Because if you convince the public that a guy like Charlie Kirk was killed by one of his own, then suddenly it's not the left's rhetoric to blame him anymore. Suddenly it's an easy punchline instead of a reckoning. And that's what they want, to protect the narrative, even if it means lying about a man's death. Finally, the public. We got off topic. Ways to fix this. The public. Us. Stop letting the media gaslight us into thinking this is normal. It's not. Stop letting politicians redefine vocabulary words and labels to dodge accountability. Say no. Don't let your kids be taught by people who laugh at death. People have got to bring back humanity. It makes me want to lock down in some sort of apocalyptic bunker until it all passes. And that's not good. That will do nothing. Charlie Kirk never called for violence. Never. He called for faith, whether you want to have that or not. He called for family. He called for mental health resources, for building better communities, for the Second Amendment as a safeguard to protect people, not to destroy them. Those were his words. That was his mission. You do not have to agree with any of it, but just move on. Live your life. Or debate him. Talk to him. Talk to people like him. People want you to believe that he was a monster. Again, all the terms we went over them, racist, sexist, fascist, all that. But the receipts say otherwise. Please go listen. Yet his killer called him a fascist, which is the irony. Fascism isn't a man speaking ideas you don't like. True fascism is silencing that man with death. And when the mob cheers that silence, when teachers, influencers, and celebrities celebrate it, what you're watching is the collapse of morality dressed up as some sort of justice. Think about his widow, Erica, his kids. Erica is a woman who just lost her husband and who stood up for 17 minutes and shared his words with millions who loved him. That's not weaponizing grief. That's courage. That's strength. That's a reminder that even in Charlie's death, his mission is bigger than anybody who opposes it with violence. So here's where I leave it. Free speech is not the enemy. Dangerous rhetoric is. And the dangerous rhetoric, it's coming from the same people who scream about tolerance while laughing at a man's murder. If we let that stand, if we don't call it out for what it is, it will continue. And I dread a country that can get any darker than it already is. At the end of the day, Charlie's murder should be a wake-up call, not a rallying cry for more hate. Not what I'm doing. We all don't have to agree on issues, on anything. But we do have to agree that killing someone over their beliefs is not okay. If we want this country to survive and thrive, we have to start talking again. Real conversations, honest debates, not mockery and mobs. Because free speech only means something if it leads to dialogue, not violence. I don't have anything else left for today. Just sick over all of it, the things that I've seen. I didn't always agree with Charlie. But I understood his purpose. I understood his conviction, his mission, and I respected him for it. I would have done anything to sit down with him and have a conversation. Just go check him out. Go listen. Go learn. And let's be better to each other. Love you guys.